I know college is really about getting an education, but here you can get like an education academically as well as an education through life. Also, so much of it is that brotherhood component that I thought was rare.
And so when it came time to apply to schools, did you apply anywhere else? Or?
No, Morehouse was the only school that I applied to. Walking down Brown Street and having people acknowledging you and affirming you, that's something that they do here, and I love that part of the culture shock. Southern hospitality is a beautiful thing. Students here, they are extremely hardworking and creative.
We produce more black attorneys. We produce the most black doctors.
Everybody around you, they're black students, they're black artists.
This place is sacred.
I think this is a safe space for black students, and this school was gonna challenge me in ways that I probably would not have gotten at other institutions.
And if we had white people just coming in here, I will feel disrespected.
Wait.
Everything that I am is a result of, this school.
Do you feel like you really belong here?
I feel like I belong here if I'm putting in the work. It's that simple.
Hey everyone, welcome to the YOUmedia podcast for January 16th, 2019. We're here today to talk about something a little bit more serious, I guess, but also I think interesting at the same time. We're going to go around the room really quick and introduce ourselves. My name is Colin, and the YOUmedia coordinator for Miami-Dade Public Library System.
My name is Chris Miller. I'm one of the instructors here.
I'm Chris.
Xavier.
I'm Marcus.
It's your boy SKP Pop Pop. You already know what it is.
Cool. And so now that we all know each other, what we're going to talk about today is this interesting video that we found on YouTube. It's by a company that's called Vice. And it's part of a series that they're making of videos that are called Minority Reports, where basically they look at people who are not traditionally in situations, environments, or other activities because of their race, and kind of sort of finding out why those people decided to put themselves in that position or that activity, and then trying to sort of get out just some information about it, why they're there, why they're interested in that, and the sort of reaction of the people who are more traditionally in that environment.
Yeah.
So that said, maybe we can go around the room really quick and talk about our just initial reactions to the video that we watched. Marcus, you want to start us off, man?
Oh, it was very informative.
Very informative? How so?
Cause I never, I knew there were like black colleges or like American stuff, but I never knew there was like white people who like go there and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I should set it off a little bit by explaining kind of the specific one that we talked about. So the one we watched was about a white student who is attending an HBCU. And we all kind of learned that an HBCU is a historically black college or university. In this case, the school that we're talking about is Morehouse, which is located in Atlanta, Georgia, which has a sister college called Spelman, which actually one of our YOUmedia alumni is currently attending right now.
Shout out
to
Egypt.
if she is anywhere around there. Yeah, she's watching us. Hey, Egypt, what's up? Come see us again sometime. So that's what it is. Basically, it's a white student has opted to go to this school, and I think in the course of the video, we learned that he's one of 3 non-black students who are actually attending this school, which is kind of a rarity. Cool. So Marcus gave us opinion. What about you, Otis? What do you think, man? What do you take away from it? Yeah, the video just in general.
I mean, everybody should be accepted if they want to go to the college,
You think so?
Everybody needs education. It doesn't matter where you get it from as long as you get education.
Okay.
Interesting.
What about you, Xavier?
Honestly, I mean, it's good that he's there, because if he was there for other intentions, like per se,
To get a reaction out of people?
yeah, and then no, leave. But he's there to get an education. He knows his place. He's respectful, very respectful, knows everybody, and he's even president of the dorm. So because he got elected, meaning a lot of people must have trusted him and voted for him because of the type of guy he is. So if they elected him president of the dorm, he must be at least decent for a person who is not black to be there and to be elected president.
Yeah, make a good point.
I literally have nothing to say. He stole all my comments.
What?
But you're worried about me not paying attention to the video, so what's wrong?
But what was your takeaway from it? Like, what did you react to it? So, like, one way or the other? Like, a lot of opinions that people were sort of putting out there, you know, that they felt one way or the other about it.
I mean, what one of the scenes that I found very respectful was the one where they were in the auditorium and the students were talking about they don't feel safe with, you know, having non-black students on campus, and you know, it depends on the reason why, you know, he was on the campus, because like the like one of the teachers there had said is that he, you know, he's not there to scare anybody. He's not there to make, like, you know, pretty much just scare. Like, he's not there to scare you guys into, you know, being there. You know, he's there for his education, and he chose to be there to make a difference in culture wise, and that and what he has done from first being there until now, he's made a big difference, and you know, he's affected a lot of people, you know, around the campus.
Yeah. Initially, I was thinking to just kind of see his backstory. I know people like him who are, you know, like either white and they're surrounded by majority black students, or the opposite, black and surrounded by majority white students. And so just to see how he grew up was pretty interesting, because as you guys heard, he was first in a predominantly black school, right? In elementary, he had all black students, but then later on, I think middle school, he transitioned to like all majority white students. So I was kind of fascinated how that kind of played a role to the college that he selected, and what his family had to say about that. They were kind of nonchalant, or like, okay, go for it. But then his peers, especially from high school, they were like, you know, they were mocking him or ridiculing him. Yeah. So I thought it was just interesting, that backstory to it.
I mean, at the end of the day, whether what his peers said.
Where are they?
I mean,
I think he's from Georgia. We're in Georgia because he's going to a school that's still in Georgia, but yeah, he's not transferring out of state. Yeah.
Whether he respected the comments, like he said, he respected the comments that his peers made in high school, but at the end of the day, he chose his own path. Like everybody, you know, in high school, a lot of things happen in high school. What you want to do in your future, and what you plan on doing affects like later on in life. So, you know, at the end of the day, his peers might have made comments and mocked him, but he still didn't listen to them, and he still went on with his plans, and he went to Morehouse, and he followed, you know, he made a difference pretty much.
So let me ask you. So we saw a lot of people give their opinions, you know, in this video, and you know, there's some people who, you know, like knew him personally, right? And they had, you know, they felt one way, right? Because again, they kind of knew him personally, and even, you know, the kids in his dorms, as you said, they lived in the dorm with him, and they must have known him and they must have seen something good with him because they voted him, you know, to be the president of their dorm, right? But there was also a lot of other people, you know, who had very strong opinions, you know, the opposite direction, you know, including one person who was a former alumni and former professor, you know, at that school, who was like, so basically said, you know, you can want to come here, but it's not for you. It's not your space. So what do you think about that? There's people who are, clearly on both sides of the issue over here. And what would you say to people, convince them one way or the other? What do you guys think? Based on your own opinions.
What would we say?
What would you say, or what's your thoughts on it? You know, so where would you fall on it? Do you think there's a reason to have spaces like this that are exclusive? I guess is the point that I'm getting.
Back then, yes, but now it's more like, you know, calmer.
But a lot of people,
It's still
it's right
out there,
now, right?
yeah.
And they're
It's still out there,
feeling
but it's
this
not
way.
that strong though.
It's
you
still
know?
pretty strong though.
Yeah.
It's pretty strong, but it's not that strong. It's not that serious.
Still
you know?
strong though.
He just
Like, yo,
I mean, like compared to back then, it seems weak.
okay,
but like,
wait,
it's
let's
still
calm down. you haven't done leg day yet. Calm down. Yeah. Well, it's not that strong. Like, you feel me? Like I said, don't say it again.
So you don't think it's that strong anymore, that we need these spaces that are like safe spaces or exclusive spaces for certain types of people or certain cultures?
It's still strong in some areas, but it's not that strong everywhere. It used to be. So in some space, some areas, yes, some areas, no.
Okay. What about Atlanta, Georgia?
I don't really know much about Atlanta, Georgia, to be honest.
Okay.
But if they allow whoever let that I don't know his name. I'm gonna call him
Oh, Tiago?
Yeah.
Tiago.
That
His
was
name is Tiago.
Tiago. Anyway, sorry, Vinny. But yeah, Tiago. Yeah, they let him in. They must have seen something in him. They were trying some new things because they already said they had like a exchange student. Somebody from
Japan.
Some other guy.
Okay.
But yeah, you know.
Marcus, you seem to have a different like viewpoint on it.
Yeah, like I understand why people would be like skeptical about it, but like I just say like just sit down, like talk to the person first before you make like a judgment about him.
It's hard though to meet every single person and judge every person on a one-on-one. I mean, the opposite is kind of the reason why we have places like this, right? Because not enough people just judge people on the assumption of, you know, everyone being, you know, a worthwhile person, right? So they became, you know, racist against, you know, certain group of people because they didn't know these people, right? So you can't meet every single person, right? So to suggest that, yeah, every person at that school meet Tiago and everything, that would be a difficult thing, right? Or to meet all the people who are coming into that school would be difficult. Let me ask you this, though. One of the things that they brought up in there was the issue of, you know, finances, right? The only reason they're letting these people in is because they can't afford to continue their school.
Yeah.
Like, so what do you think about that?
That's what the one things I was gonna say as well, is that one of the main reasons why they also allowed, you know, I'm assuming they allowed what's his name? Tiago into the school was because of money, and that's one of the teachers there had said to when they were in the auditorium, is that, you know, we're not just letting him in, you know, just because, you know, he not only did he earn respect, but like also, you know, we need,
he had the budget. Yeah,
there's some things where, you know, we just can't become an all black school, and then, you know, there's some things that, you know, we have to get to make the school, you know, bring more people in, you know, and, you know, like what's the word? Pretty much like show the school like around the world, you know, like, like look at, like, this is us.
You mean international?
Yeah, there you go.
They're
like
being more open.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, and doing so, bringing in Tiago, you know, it helps them.
Okay.
You know.
Do you think it's beneficial to the college, for the college to do that? I don't know if you were listening to one of the advisors. We were talking about, you know, it's because of finances, but he was talking about how some of these schools are shutting down because they haven't adapted to, you know, let
change. Yeah, exactly.
For the change, to allow these non-traditional black students to allow them in. So do you think it's beneficial for the college to do that, to continue, all right, we're going to allow, you know, a white student or Hispanic, Japanese? Is that something they should continue doing?
Yeah, I think they should, but then like they were saying, like, this place is you know, I don't believe that they don't need a lot of spaces, but then there are some people that, you know, they don't feel safe around, you know, some of these people, and, you know, I understand, like, financially wise they need to add non-black students into the campus, but at the same time, don't overdo it and add make most of the population non-black and then only have like saying like have 75% of the population non-black and only having 25%. Make it a little fair, like at least 40 to 45% non-black, and the rest to black culture, because then again it was a school meant for
Black people.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, and they actually mentioned that there's these other HBCUs like in Virginia and other places that they've had to sort of adapt, and that now there's only 10% black
Exactly.
students at these schools, and so to call them an HBCU is really it feels often disrespectful to the people who are the alumni, right? Who the people who have gone to these schools and paid the money to get this, and they chose to go to those schools because they feel a sense of connection.
Importance.
Yeah, and importance, but connections to the past, And at one point, he even talked about how one of the areas in the school, one of the fields in the school was a Civil War battleground, right? And that there's this sense of, we own this now, right? This was a place that was, fought over, us and, the us, having our freedom and all these things. And now we have this space that's been carved out specifically for us. And to then let, people who don't look like us, don't have our same culture come to these spaces, somewhat diminishes that, that sense,
Yeah, no, I would also add to the fact that I think one thing they're scared to lose is their culture. That's one of the points that the students brought up, and I want to hear y'all thoughts about this. Where do you stand? One of the arguments from the students was, hey, we should allow these non-traditional black students to enter the school. Why? Because so they could learn about the culture, so they could be influenced by it, and it opens up their eyes to, wow, okay, not every black person is like this or like that or whatever they may be stereotyped to be, and it kind of could open up their eyes. You guys agree with that?
I believe they should do that. I believe so. And then you have some people who disagree with that as well, because some believe like one of the girls made a comment saying, oh, in doing that, they instead of coming here, you could go do that in a library, you could look in books and see, but then again, I don't agree with that, because in books is telling history, like what culture is history, but then like also you want to learn it from like
personal background.
Yeah, personal background, like
Oh my gosh, bro.
I think you're right. Yeah, being able to interact with somebody like that and on a one-on-one basis and learn, as Marcus was saying, learn from them. Like learn who they're all about. And who they're gonna, what their culture is, or what their morals are, or what their. One of the things that Tiago talked about was that he liked going to that school because of the what did he say? Just the friendliness?
The Southern hospitality.
The hospitality, yeah. That there's this culture of hospitality, among black people, and that he felt a connection to that. That may have come, from his background of, being in elementary school and being in this sort of group and feeling really, welcomed in, in some ways. But we're joined by Lowell now. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, I just came in on midway through it. What was that, a hair? Okay. Okay, thanks. Camera can't pick that up, but now they know I had a hair on my shirt. I think, well, for me, I would say I was kind of in the same sense, like where he was, because in elementary from 4th to 5th grade, I was in a predominantly like white school. So I kind of understand what it means to be like the needle in a haystack, I guess. Like you're like the kind of, you stand out a lot. And I like the sense that he chose to actually go there. He was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go to this place that I don't look the same as everybody else, but and he's actually respecting, from what I'm hearing, he's actually respecting, what everything is about there. And I think to let more white students into these HBCUs would be a great thing, for them to kind of like learn, I guess, black culture, what I mean, just to connect with other black students, because in high school you can kind of like pick, who you decide to hang with, so you don't have to hang with all the black students. But you go to HBCU, what I mean, you have like black dorm mates, black students all around you. You can actually decide, hey, yeah, let me go ahead and talk to you. Let me see, what's happening here. And college is actually one of those places where you actually connect with people more. You know what I mean? You actually sit there and like connect with people more. Okay, so but yeah, I just think it's cool that he actually decided to do this, despite what friends may have said, or despite what other people may have said about him deciding to make the decision to actually go to these places.
Any more thoughts about what we were referring to earlier as well? It's about the culture change, and do you guys think that if they do allow too many white students, what can happen to Kentucky State?
Yes.
Like what Chris was saying, like only still keep it so that like more like black students are there than white students, but still like when you said 45%, I disagree, because 45%, that's still a pretty big number. Like there's only like 14% of black people in America, but there's still like a lot of us here, even though it's only 14%, and it's still like a really big influence. So 45%, even though it's not making the 50, that's still a pretty big number.
And then I also feel like with the whole like losing like culture thing is, I kind of just look at it like in hip hop, you know what I mean? So nowadays in hip hop, because this is no different
No,
than
it's fine, yeah.
it's like it's 100% like kind of the same when you really look at it in a sense.
I wasn't gonna necessarily bring it up, but since you brought it up there, I mean, we had in the early '90s, Vanilla Ice, came on the scene and was sort of making that splash, and then the late '90s we had Eminem who did the same thing. Yeah. So this is not unfamiliar territory, but continue on.
Yeah. So like when you look at it in a sense, now I do think that with the whole thing where I guess they saw like a reduced like amount of black students actually attended, and then there was more like white students. Is that what they're saying is happening? Like
no, what's happening is because of finances, they're having to advertise to a non-traditional student, and by non-traditional student they mean non-black student. And so he, because he found out about this school and everything, that they advertised him, and he liked the morals that they had of being a Morehouse man, he opted to apply to this school.
The fact that he didn't do it just to get a reaction, like, oh, I'm gonna do this because I wanna make them feel some type of way, like that's actually okay.
The concern was just to help you is Kentucky State used to be a HBCU, but now it's 95% white. So that was the concern. Yeah.
Well, take over in a sense that Colin said it. Well, same thing happened with hip hop. Hip hop ended up becoming like, they advertise to all these people, where now you have just the little white kids from the suburbs, and now they're investing in hip hop. So it's the same way that's like, and that's bringing in more revenue to like the culture in a sense, but in a sense, like it's becoming, I guess you could say, like more whitewashed. But like, I don't know, it's confusing.
I have a question.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you think Eminem messed up hip hop?
No.
Wait, what?
That's a dumb question.
Because the thing about like hip hop, and I think like you can kind of like match it up with this topic, is that like hip hop, you're like, were you someone that's like Eminem's caliber, like you added so much to hip hop, that's why like you can't say like he messed up hip hop. When you're like this kid, as long as he's adding back to the student body, and he's adding back to like the student, like the culture of the university, is he really taking much away from the university? No. If he's giving back, if he's the president of his dorm, if people are actually accepting him, then I don't see what the problem is.
And plus, like, if Eminem didn't pick up a mic, there still would have been another white kid out there who would have been like just like him.
The Beastie Boys, guys.
Exactly.
Don't be a Slim Jesus.
Oh my God! Like in the recent years, like there has been so many like, I guess like white rappers. I mean, when you look at people like, you know, you start off with Eminem, do you have people like you got MGK, you got Mac Miller. Oh my gosh, rest in peace. You Lil Dicky, you have G-Eazy. Like I don't listen to that guy's music. Stop. But
G-Eazy.
yeah,
You know who that is. You don't admit it, but you know who that
sad
is.
that I know, but at the end of the day, like these are people who came from just listening to Eminem, and Eminem was listening to other black artists. You know what I mean? So like,
let me ask you. So the assumption that we're making with Tiago is that he's adding something to it, right? He's not reducing the value of the university. So to sort of make a correlation to these hip hop artists, are they adding to it or are they reducing something from it?
I think you're adding something, because honestly, like that's why I don't ever really like the fact of like like a school that's predominantly like ran by something. You know, when I was the elementary school that I was at for 4th or 5th grade was Palmetto Elementary. I mean, February came around, they did nothing for I'm so serious, they did nothing for Black History Month. And I went to the principals and I was like, hey, what's going on? Like, you guys are not going to talk about any of this. Talk about Martin Luther King, but I was like, everybody knows about Martin Luther King. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? Like, we're not going to talk about any of this. Like, this was activist Lowell. I was making petitions. What? Like that's how serious.
Could you spell that in 4th grade?
Yeah, I could spell that in 4th grade. The question is, can I spell that now? Whoa. No, but like, yeah, like that's how like serious it became. I was like, you know what I mean? Like you have so many like I wasn't the only black kid, but there were other like black students. So I'm just like, you guys are just kind of like ignoring a bit of like a big section of students that are here, and just because, you know, a majority of the students here are white or they may be Latino, doesn't mean that they can't also learn about, you know, Black history. So same thing here. I think that with these black students, maybe they can learn something from the kid Tiago. You know what I mean? Like because in a sense, Black people always have like this mentality or like I guess like this thought of they know how everything works in like white neighborhoods, but in honesty, like we don't. Like or like in the white community, like we think that we know, but we don't know. So why don't you go to this kid and just like, if you have the opportunity to like be around them, because universities are big. You're never gonna see the person that you see in this one day. You're not gonna see him the next day. Like you know, is going like walking around.
You'll see him the next semester if you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
Probably if he's in your dorm.
Yeah. So like, if you have the chance to like talk to the kid, like why don't you talk to him about some of the things that he's been going through? Because I'm pretty sure that if he's around everybody like all day, all these black students, he's gonna learn about, you know, whatever happens in the black community, whatever their stripes may be. So why don't they take the time, if he's in your presence, talk to him, learn about like some things that he may go through and some problems that he may see? Because even though, you know, we may only see like, oh yeah, like black people go through problems, I'm pretty sure like, you know, white people in America, while their problems may not be as serious as like the black community, that they still have some problems that they go through as well. You know what I mean? So, but it's just because they aren't center of attention, since like as like, you know, problems that black people go through, like, you know, police brutality, or, you know, like, you know, just living in low income housing. You know what I mean? Like some white people do go through that, but it's not like nobody ever shines a light on that. The kids there, ask him about, you know, his favorite dish that his mom makes or whatever. Just
Ratatouille.
Yeah. No one just makes ratatouille. No one has made ratatouille until the movie Ratatouille.
Well, I do think you're right. I mean, not to jump around you. I do think Ratatouille. No, but going to university, whenever I talk about or suggest that people go to university as opposed to other things, you know, trade schools or things like that, one of the biggest reasons I suggest going to university is, yeah, you're going to be around a lot of people who are going to be thinking a lot differently from you, and they're going to look differently from you, and they're going to open your mind to things that are you didn't think about before. So, you know, again, I'm not saying you have to go to one school over another school or that, or why an HBCU might not be the way to go, but yeah, exposure to as many possible sort of influences and mindsets is always a good thing. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yep.
Would you rather read history from a book or get it from somebody who knows it personally?
Personally, because books are boring.
I mean, exactly.
So much dubbed.
Stop.
Chris, I think you had something, right?
Yeah. So I was just thinking, going back to the video, one thing that not only are they influencing him, but I think he's also adding in is I just love how honest he was to admit that, the privileges that he does have, and the fact, being aware of that stereotype and attacking that, just because I'm white doesn't mean that I'm smarter than you, or doesn't mean like, are naturally a better leader or whatever. And him to admit that, I think he's gonna add something to them as well, for those black students to understand, like, hey, first of all, not every white person is the same. And just going back to the history, the dude was saying there's always been white students there, and I think it does help add to that culture, because I don't believe it was necessarily always meant to be just one type of student. It was to help empower these African Americans to be leaders, right? Martin Luther King came from Morehouse. Who else?
Spike Lee,
Samuel
Jackson, yeah.
Right? And what a better way to be a leader by understanding other cultures and other people who are different from you, and to be able to engage in that. And so I just think it's dope.
And going back to your question, what you were saying,
rather get a book than get it from somebody personally.
Okay.
Which one would you do?
Yeah, I do it. You also gotta think about it in our perspective as well. Would you rather, if you want to learn a different culture, like if you want to learn about, just in general, like a non-black culture, do you want to read it in a book, or would you rather have someone in front of you and actually teach you that culture and their backstory?
To add to that, fourth grade, I think it was fourth grade. I don't know what time of the year it was, but I remember I actually got a chance to meet like an actual Holocaust survivor. Like he had his number on his skin and everything. And I think to learn it from somebody personally, it adds that much more, because reading from a book or whatever. Okay. Reading from a book or whatever, it's in a sense like fiction. I mean, so for so long we've read about slavery, and I think that's why for some people it's just like, oh well, that happened, but it was so long ago.
It doesn't seem real.
It doesn't seem real, but to actually to meet that Holocaust survivor, and for him to tell us the stuff that he's been through, the struggles, and actually to see the number on his skin, that just opened my mind up to just wow, you've been through that, and I don't know, it affects you more. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I can from young, from elementary to high school, we read the same thing. Oh yeah, slavery. Oh yeah, I mean, this happened in America, and this happened, but it doesn't really affect kids, because why? Not only because we haven't been through that, but it's more because we were reading that every single year. Nobody real is oh yeah, I've been through that. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, I've been through that. There's so many and that's to go as far as there's so many problems. You know what I mean, that happen. You don't understand being homeless until you're either homeless or you meet somebody that's actually homeless and who can't provide for themselves. You know what I mean? You don't understand a lot of things that go on. You know what I mean? Until somebody is actually telling you about this. You know what I mean? Think about, and I know this is really getting off topic, but think about the R. Kelly stuff. You know what I mean? Nobody believed that was going on, and didn't believe that goes on within the music industry until this recent documentary came through. You know what I mean? And for years we begin stories, we begin even just the videos. I mean, R. Kelly was calling video doing some of this stuff.
That wasn't him.
that was my brother.
R. Kelly.
Never that.
All right, guys. Well, not to cut it off, but we're hitting up against time right now, and I just want to talk about one more thing before we end. Like I said, this is a series that you can actually watch. It's called Minority Reports, and sort of each episode kind of investigates another thing. So the next one is about a a black cowboy who is involved
black
in the
bull rider in a majority white
exactly, in the
sport
rodeo.
right there.
Wow.
Look at him right there.
Yeah, so he does his own rodeo riding. The third one is about some white guys who decide to do K-pop. So it's really, really interesting. And these are all people who are choosing to like put themselves in a position that makes them an outsider, right? And they don't need to do that, right? But they've decided to put themselves in that position, right?
Like they knew the risk.
Well, it's not necessarily. It's not talking about risk necessarily. It's just knowing that you're going to be perceived as an outsider, right? And you want to do something so bad, and you feel it so much in you that you have to do that, right? And it doesn't matter what the sort of repercussions might be. You know, you're going to deal with those sort of things. So I just wanted to ask you if anybody has any sort of situation in their past or anything that they're doing even right now, where you enjoy doing something, or you want to be doing something, or you want to be somewhere, or you have been somewhere where, you know, you felt, you know, this isn't necessarily where culturally or by the gender or whatever it is to be doing that thing, but you didn't care about it and you did it anyway. Does anyone have anything like that?
First time I ever read a book.
Okay.
No. Oh my God.
Yes, yes, this is exactly what I'm talking about.
Lots of people who look just like you read books every single day. It's okay, man.
But you wouldn't expect it.
I'd expect
There's two situations. So growing up being the black kid who watches anime,
Okay.
I mean, there weren't really many black kids who watched anime aside from like Dragon Ball Z. Like everybody saw Dragon Ball Z,
Okay.
but like growing up and like really being into it, and everybody's like, "Wow, like you're weird for doing that." But now it's something that
More
nowadays,
accepted?
yeah, now it's like way more accepted, and to where you got Michael B. Jordan mispronouncing Naruto.
Okay, listen, Michael B. Jordan did it, but when Super Red does it,
He said Naruto. Chill, get out of here.
No. Listen.
Stop.
Stop.
And then something else that was like was big for me is that in middle school I liked skateboarding.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So
I did it in elementary.
I know, but it was like no, I loved skateboarding. Yeah. So it was one thing that was like everybody was like, nah, man, we're gonna go play basketball and football, and I was like. I'm gonna fall like 50,000 times. That's how I chipped my tooth the first time, actually.
I'm gonna do a kickflip, guy.
So, and it was for that, like, I didn't understand, like, why it was wrong for me, like, why people thought it was weird. And then I remember, like, I started loving it more when, like, one of my neighbors, he was actually black, and he skateboarded, too. And I just saw him doing all these tricks, and I was like, yo, bro, ain't nothing wrong for a brother to be skateboarding.
That's cool. Anybody else? No?
Yeah,
I want to be into Twitch, but you know, it's dominated by mostly white people.
There are plenty of black people in Twitch, though. Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah.
Daquan does not count.
Okay.
All right. Okay, guys. Well, I think that's it. Thanks again for joining us for the YOUmedia podcast. And next week we'll be back with some comic book stuff. So look out for that.